It's a process of finding out the defects in an application. So before we move into the definition, let us take a small example.
Okay.
Right? So let's say you are the customer, right? Before we move on to the actual testing, let's say that you are a customer and you want to purchase a product called as pen. Right? Assume that you are expecting a blue color pen wherein which it should write smoothly. Right? So the requirements are, it should be blue and it should write smoothly. So these are the two requirements. Now when you are going to purchase the product, let's say you went to a shop and you asked for this product. So when the shopkeeper gives you this product, so what we'll be doing initially? So as a customer, I'll take a small piece of paper and I'm going to scribble on that to check whether is it writing smoothly and whether the color is blue or not. Right? So what I'm doing here, I'm testing the product to check whether my requirements are fulfilled in this product or not. Now let's say when you are testing, assume that you have identified that color is blue but it is not writing smoothly. Not writing smoothly. So what do? Will you accept the product and will you purchase the product, or do you check for other brand of the same product?
We choose other brand.
Right, because
Yes.
both of our requirements are not fulfilled, only one requirement is fulfilled. So we'll ask for the other brand of the same product. Now let's say that the shopkeeper has given you the another brand, right? Now let's say again you're going to test that brand. Now let's say in that product both the requirements are fulfilled. Let's say it is writing smoothly and also the color is blue. Now in this case, which brand product are you going to accept? Either the first brand product or the second brand product? Obviously the second brand product, because
Right.
both
Yes.
of our requirements are fulfilled. So
Okay.
when all the customer requirements are fulfilled in a product, as a customer we call it as a quality product. Right? So when are we going to say like it's a quality? When all our requirements are fulfilled, we'll say the product is of quality. So as a customer, right, every customer will be expecting a quality product. Right? When the quality exists in the product, then only the product can survive in the market. When the product can survive in the market, the organization can do the business or can achieve the profits. So in order to exist in the market, or in order to survive in the market, or in order to do the business, or in order to achieve the profits, every organization should try to develop a quality product. But who will ensure that the product is of quality? Right? Now let's say I have developed the product without testing. I have given this product to the customer. I have just developed, but I have not tested whether all the requirements of the customer are fulfilled or not. Directly I have given it to the customer. Now when the customer gets your product, takes your product, customer starts testing your product to check whether it's of quality or not. Now when they identify the defects, let's say initially they have identified, let's say, few defects. Now they'll come back to the organization saying that these are the defects in the product. So let's say you're going to fix those defects and you'll give the same product. After fixing, you're going to give it to the customer. Let's say customer has identified some more defects. Again, he has come back to the organization. Organization, again, they're going to fix it. So what happens if this process goes on? Customer is identifying the defects and you're fixing them and we are giving back to the customer. Again, customer is identifying some more defects. If this goes on continuously, customer will think that this organization is not following any standards to develop a quality product. Right? If you get this type of feedback from the customer, you will not be getting any requirements, right, to develop the product. So you can't do the business, you can't survive in the market, or you can't exist in the market. So in order to satisfy the customers, you need to develop and you need to deliver a quality product. But how do you develop or how do you deliver a quality product? When enough testing is done on a product before giving this product to the customer. I mean to say that testing should be done in the organization as well before giving it to the customer to ensure whether it's of quality or not. Only when we test a product we can check whether it's of quality or not.
Okay.
So testing is done to check whether the product is of quality or not. But what is a quality? How do you define a quality? So we have many definitions for defining the word quality. Quality in the sense a product which meets all the customer requirements, or a product which is of zero defects, or a product which is user friendly, a product which is more reliable, a product which is more efficient, right? We have got many definitions for defining the word quality, which is more user friendly, which is more reliable, which is more efficient, or which satisfies all the customer requirements, or which is of zero defects. So here I am saying that a product which is of zero defects is nothing but a quality. So what do you mean by a word defect? Amresh, you have any idea what do you mean by a defect?
In our terminology, defects means
do you call it as a defect or do you call it as a bug?
bug. We say it is bug
Yes,
in development.
bug. Good. Developer calls it as a bug, tester calls it as a defect.
Yes.
This is the only difference between a bug and a defect. Okay, so what do you mean by a bug?
Bug means error. And to rectify the error, we say it is bug. If you
Good.
find any, yeah.
Okay, good. So here, as a tester, let's say I'm testing an application. When any one of the requirement of the application is not fulfilled, I call it as a defect and I'll report this defect to a developer. The role of a tester is to test an application according to the customer requirements or according to the business. Right? When any one of the business requirement is not fulfilled in the application, tester call it as a defect. And the role of a tester is only to identify the defects but not to fix the defects. Once the tester identifies the defects, now this defect will be reported to a developer. The role of a developer is to understand the defect and to fix the defect. Once the defect has been fixed, it has to be reported to a developer. So developer is again, tester, once the developer is going to fix the defect, it has to be reported to a tester. Tester should retest the application in order to check whether that defect has been fixed successfully or not by the developer. Again, we are going to do, in the later sessions, we are going to discuss what are the different types of testing that we are going to do in the application. Right?
Yeah.
Test the application according to the business or the customer requirements to identify the defects and reporting it to the developer but not fixing the defects. So the role of a developer is to understand the defect and to fix it. Now you got an idea what is a testing, why testing is done, right, and what is the role of a tester. Right? Okay. Is that okay, Chinna? Simma?
Yes.
Okay. Now in this course, first basically, basically we have two ways of testing. Testing can be done in two ways: manual testing and automation testing. We can test an application in two ways. We can test it manually according to the requirements, or we can also test the application using the tools, which is called as automation testing. Automation testing is what? Testing the application with the help of a tool. So what do you mean by tool here? Tool is nothing but, it's a software. So software is nothing but set of programs. A program is nothing but set of instructions. So a tool is nothing but set of instructions. Now let us take an application. Now let's take a Gmail application. In that Gmail application, let us take the login window or the login application. Now initially, when we are going to log into the Gmail, right, first we'll open a browser, we'll enter the URL as gmail.com. So when we run that URL, initially we'll be getting a login web page. In that login web page, we have to enter username, password, and we have to click on the sign in button. So this is the process or the step by step to run the login application. Right? So when you're gonna test the application for the first time, you have to follow this process. So when you click on sign in, right, when the username and password are correct or when they are valid, you are able to log into the inbox web page, or you are gonna navigate to the inbox web page. If any one of the inputs are wrong, then you are able to see the same login web page with some error message, right? So this is the requirement of the application. The requirement says that when the user is able to log into the web page, right, user has to enter both the username and password and has to click on sign in. When the inputs are valid, user should able to see the inbox web page. If the inputs are invalid, he should able to see the same login web page but with some error message. This is the requirement. To test this requirement, we have to follow the process. What is the process? Open the browser, enter the URL. When you run the URL, we will be getting the login web page of Gmail. So enter username, enter password, click on sign in. So what you are doing, you are doing this process manually. First time you are doing this process manually with the valid inputs. Now you are able to log into the inbox, or let's say you are able to see the inbox web page. So your requirement is fulfilled. Nothing but you are testing the application with the valid inputs, which is called as positive testing. The tester has to test the application both with the valid inputs as well as with the invalid inputs. Testing an application with the invalid inputs is called as negative testing. But to do this negative testing, the tester should repeat the same process, like open the browser, run the URL, enter username, enter password, click on sign in, right? If the inputs are invalid, the user should be able to see the same login web page with some error message. So even this process should be repeated, which is called as negative testing. But in real time, right, it doesn't mean that only one user is going to use the application. If you take this Gmail application as your application, real-time application, right? So this Gmail will be used by n number of users. Assume that there are 100 number of users who are going to use your application. So you have to test this application with all the 100 users. But to test the application with a single user, this is the process that you have to follow. Open the application, open the browser, run the URL, enter username, enter password, click on sign in. Right? You have to test the application with a single user with the valid inputs as well as with the invalid inputs. So if you have to test it with 100 users, you have to use the same process for 100 times, right? Which is a tedious process. Now let's say the requirement says, let's say the requirement says that you have to test this application in the period of 2 months, wherein which the inputs are more and the process to test the application, let's say it takes more time. Now the tester says like it is not sufficient for me to test the application in 2 months of time, as we have got more process to run the application with more set of inputs. So what do you do in this case? Now we'll shift to the automation testing. So what is this automation testing in the sense? Testing the application using the set of tools. So what do you mean with tool here? It's a software again. Software nothing but set of programs. So program is nothing but set of instructions. Right? Now what are the instructions that you have to follow to test this Gmail? Open the browser, run the URL, enter the username and password in the login web page, click on sign in button. So these are the instructions that you have to follow to test the login web page of Gmail. So what we do in automation testing, we are going to automate this process, like opening the browser, running the URL, enter the username, password, click on sign in. So this process we are going to automate in the sense we are going to write these process in the form of instructions and we give it to a tool. So the tool itself will run the application by following this process. Now you can check the difference following this process by the user or following this process by the tool. Which takes more time, by the tool or by a human being?
human being. Yes.
Are you able to hear me clearly?
Yes, yes.
Okay, okay. So following this process by the tool or by human being, which of this process takes more time? Right.
Yes.
Or yes. Now let me give you one more example. Let's say I have to do this multiplication operation of these digits. I can do this multiplication operation of these digits manually, or I can also do it using the calculator. If I do it manually, it takes some time for me to get the answer. But if I do it using calculator, I will be getting the answer in a fraction of seconds. Process is same, but getting the output will take very less time if I go with calculator. Similarly, automation testing also, right? Testing the application with the help of tool takes very less time to test the application, right? So I can say like it is of more efficient. But the difference is automation testing is, it takes, we require more cost to do the automation testing because we have to purchase the tools. To purchase the tools, we have to spend some cost. So manual testing, just we can hire a tester and we can ask the tester to test the application. But here in automation testing, we require a tester and we require a tool as well. So testing the application with the help of a tool is nothing but the automation testing. Now here initially in this course, first I'm going to teach you manual testing. In the manual testing, I'm going to teach you what are the different types of testings we have, what is the role of a tester, how do we test the application, how do we prepare the test cases according to the requirement, how do we use those test cases to test the application, how do we report the defects to a developer, and what are the different special types of testings we have, and also testing levels. See, we have unit level of testing, integration level of testing, system level, and user acceptance. Right? Testing levels, testing techniques. What are the different types of test techniques we have to test an application? And different types of testing like black box testing, white box testing, validation testing, right? Positive testing, negative testing, alpha testing, beta testing, business validation testing, right? Smoke testing, sanity testing, user-friendly testing. We have got many types of testing. What is a test case? What are the different types of test case that we prepare? All these things we are gonna do in manual testing. So after completion of manual testing, we are gonna start with automation testing, in which first we are gonna start with QTP. There I'm gonna teach you what is a tool QTP, how do we test the application using QTP, and how do we see in QTP we are going to use VB scripting. So how are we going to write a script to test an application using VB script? I'm going to teach you in QTP. After completion of QTP, I'm going to start with QC. QTP is nothing but Quick Test Professional, right? It's a product of HP, right? Initially it was the product of Mercury Interactive, but Mercury Interactive was been undertaken by HP, so we call it as an HP tool. Now after QTP, we're going to start with QC. QC is nothing but Quality Center. Again, it's a product of HP, right? It is the defect management tool. QTP is a functionality tool, which is used to test which is used to do the functionality testing. I'm going to tell you what is functionality testing later on. In QC is nothing but it's a defect management tool. We are not going to do the functionality testing using QC. It is a tool only used to manage the defects, to report the defects and to manage the defects. Right? Companies, even if they use like QTP or LoadRunner or Selenium or any tool, must, and we have to, QC is of mandatory. We must use it in order to manage the tools. So manual testing and QC is mandatory. QTP, Selenium, ETL, it all depends on the requirement of testing and application, but QC is mandatory as of now. So after completion of QC, then we are going to start load runner. Load runner, even if it is a product of HP, but this tool is used to do the performance testing. Performance testing is what testing an application in order to check how is it efficient, like how much time application is taking in order to open it. Let's say you are running a Gmail, you have entered username, password, and you have to click on sign in. Once you click on sign in, it takes some time to navigate to the next web page, nothing but the inbox web page. So using performance testing, here we're going to test the performance, like how much time it is taking to open the inbox web page. That we are going to measure it using the performance tool, which is called as load runner. QTP, QC, and then load runner. All the three tools are the products of HP. So hardly it takes 45 sessions to complete the course. And during the course, I'm going to give you some assignments in manual testing, like preparation of test cases by giving small examples, and also in QTP and also in QC. So is that okay? Like this is a brief idea of the demo session. So if you have any queries, let me know. So from tomorrow, we're going to start with the actual session. Amaresh is